We'll start with our weekly presentations. Travis, I'll let you decide if you want to go first or last. Or go first. All right, great.
Travis Tann, Anderson Chiropractic. What I want to talk about today are slippery surfaces. This is a great first day to talk about that. So when things start to get slick outside, we start to walk a little bit differently. And it's not really the falls that get a lot of people, it's actually that shuffling that we do. And we kind of walk, a little too fast, we shuffle, and what that leads to is using muscles that we typically don't use for the rest of the year. And so it leads to a lot of sprains, strains, and so when those muscles get angry, they tend to pull those joints out of position too. So chiropractic is a great way or a great remedy to get people back to function, recondition those muscles, help to heal those sprains, strains. So if you know anybody who runs into that this winter, ice fishers are pretty big culprits. Refer them over to me, Travis Tann, Anderson Chiropractic.
Tann, did you want to mention something about yourself? Stand up and say something. You're here. We want to hear from you.
Tann Harms. I've been with Anderson Chiropractic for almost 3 years now. There, I'm a chiropractor technician, do vitals, develop x-rays, therapies, help reschedule, answer phones, ordering, inventory, pretty much anything these guys yell at me to do. So, but no, it's been great. It's been a new experience to me, and I really like it.
Wow, thank you. How long have you been there?
Almost 3 years.
Oh, wow, quite a while.
The featured speaker today, we have Travis from Anderson Chiropractic, and profession chiropractor, and this the location is here at 346 2nd Street in Reedburg. He's been in business 5 years, 5 years of chiropractic work, and started with Anderson Chiropractic in August of this year. So the previous types of jobs: bartender and factory line worker. Then personal information, family information, spouse, her name is Julie, they've been married for 2 years, and children, not yet. Animals, I don't know why on animals the first word is my wife, but it's just my wife's 2 cats. Hobbies, sports, primarily watching, and then computers. Activities of interest, online games. City of residence is Boston, and he's been in Boston for 5 years. Burning desire is to move to Reedburg and start a family. And what is something no one knows about you, Travis?
I had it all. Oh yeah. All right. So actually, my first adjustment that I did was when I was like probably 8 or 9. My mom used to have me walk on her back. So I don't recommend it, but a lot of people start out that way.
And the key to success is speak less and listen more.
All right. Tann's going to assist me today. I'm going to go ahead and do a demonstration, so I'm going to actually do some adjusting. I talk about adjusting a lot. A lot of you, unless you've been to the chiropractor, don't really know what an adjustment is. I would. It's going to hold you guys. So, basically, what chiropractors do is they help this communicate with everything else. So everything goes through the spine. If I remember my spine, I'd be showing that to you right now, my spine model. But every level has what's called a spinal nerve. So messages come through here, they get to a certain point in the spinal cord, and then they exit, and they may help you move your hands, they may help you digest food, they may help you breathe. And what chiropractors do is they help to restore that communication with the adjustment. So we don't typically heal anybody, but we get your body set up to heal itself properly. So I have Tann here today. Tann is kind of a regular because she's really hard on herself. We work out a lot and heavy, but she's also a deer hunter. So she's sitting in a stand for 3 days this weekend. So she's pretty sore today. So what I typically would do is ask her what's giving her trouble today, and she would say,
My right side, which I previously had, that Dr. Travis had fixed, started acting up while sitting in a tree. My tree stand was a little tilted because my father didn't put it up very good. And so I was kind of sitting stretched on one side. And I started getting my muscles start pulling.
All right.
Lower back, sleeping, different bed. Someone mentioned mattresses earlier today. And sleeping in a bed that I'm not used to. Lower back's been bothering me, but I was sleeping on my stomach.
Not ideal, but side and back is best. But so, you know, we address a number of different issues. I'll probably adjust most of the areas on Tann because of the spine, because she typically has some issues with her neck as well and her mid back. So what I'm going to have her do is lay face down on this table. And this is a real basic travel table. Obviously there are more advanced tables at the clinic, and really all you need is something like this. And I have this little tool here. If you've ever seen a chiropractic table, it's got pieces that pop up and fall, and that helps us to adjust areas like the pelvis without having to use a lot of force. Something like this you can use portably and be perfectly fine with that. But the tables, they just make it easier, these tables like we have at the clinic. So what I typically do, every doc's going to start different, but what I do is I start with the feet and I take a look at her leg lengths, and what I see is she has a leg that is about this much shorter on the left. And so that doesn't seem like much, but it can make a big difference based on, you know, her posture, her biomechanics. And so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have her bend her knees. And this is just a protocol that we go through to see, well, where should we adjust? Where should we be adjusting? And so this one actually got longer when she bent her knees. So that tells me I'm going to be adjusting on the upper left and lower right of her pelvis with that piece there, but not quite yet. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to palpate. I'm going to push and feel for how things are moving. You know, the joints of the spine, they should be moving, you know, resisting like a rubber band, you know, nice and tensile and give. But what I'm looking for is areas that feel like a piece of plywood that are, you know, gives a little bit, but it's really stiff. It's not moving properly. And so I find these areas, and this, you know, people ask me, well, how do you know that? Well, it's just based off of feel and just experience. You know, I was in school. We were. You know,
Travis, can you stand on this side
yep.
so they can all see
what
exactly what you're doing?
Yeah. And we're, you know, in school we had a real tough time figuring this stuff out. You know, just real awkward. You know, it's trying to shake hands with a cat. You know, it's just. It's awkward. And so over time, you just get a feel. You develop a sense, and your adjusting gets better. Your diagnosis gets better. So I have a few areas that here I'm going to work with her. And so what I'm going to have her do is a little push up here, just so I bring her pelvis off the table so I can put this underneath her. There you go. And so this thing can accommodate some of my size and also some of her size, or even kids. I've adjusted with 1-year-olds on here. Sometimes their pelvis needs adjusting as well. So I just did it for tension because, like I said, I want to use less force and accomplish more work. So that's what we're going to do. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to push on this area here and this area here all at once with one swift motion, just like that. And it may look like I'm pushing really hard. I'm not. This piece of equipment is doing most of the work. And different docs will use that more than others. I use it for the pelvis only. Dr. Bob and Dr. Chris tend to use it for most of the spine. So just tons of different preferences and uniqueness to different chiropractors. So what I'll have to do is pop off a little bit here. I'll get this out from under you. A little more comfortable. Next thing I'm going to do is work on the back. And so what chiropractors do is just a quick thrust. Not a lot, like I said, not a lot of force, but a lot of, I'm trying to think, high velocity, low amplitude is what we're trying to accomplish. So what I would have her do is take a breath in, let it go. And so you might have heard a little pop. And so that tends to pique some people. And really all that, it's not bone on bone. People think, oh, my bones are cracking. And they're not. It's just gas. So it's nitrous gas that sits in the joint capsules. And that just pops up, just like a little tiny balloon. You hear that little pop, and you know, once you know what it is, it's a little bit easier to experience. And so there's another spot here. Breathe in, and when she breathes out, her muscles relax a little bit. And so that allows me to be able to move those joints, you know, like I want to.
Pain?
No, huh?
You're giving him pain, go ahead.
One other thing I was gonna mention too is if anybody has any questions, especially easy ones, just go ahead and ask. If you have any questions on the middle here, feel free to pipe in. And so there's another way I adjust people's mid backs. This area here in the mid back, I'm gonna have you get up and sit at the end like we have done before. It just doesn't work well for her. So that's another thing. You try to adapt different moves to work for different people. And so I want you to go ahead and cross like we usually do that. She's going to cross her arms, which kind of locks these out so I can actually move them, work with them. I want you to take a breath in, and I lay her down on my hand and push. And so obviously I didn't push like I typically would because I already adjusted her, but that works for most people. She's just a little different. She's just tougher to get her mid back, so I had her lay face down. Next thing we're going to adjust is her low back. So I typically handle low back, lay underside from either or. We're going to do both. And so I adjust side postures, the stereotypical position you see on TV and stuff with chiropractors. And so we want to move right in through here. So I'm leaving my hand right on there. I'm going to hold her shoulder, roll her forward. I'm not going to let them fall. I haven't lost anybody yet. And then I'm just going to have her breathe in and let go. And so you heard that little release, and that's what we're looking for. It doesn't, if you don't hear it, doesn't mean it didn't move. So you don't try 100 times if you don't hear it. Just a couple times, and that's it. And we'll do the same thing here. Breathing in and out. Very good. Yep, on your back. And then, you know, obviously, you're, oh, I'll do that other one. So, you know, these are some positions that you gotta explain to people before you do that, and that's what I pride myself on, is trying to explain. I'm going to be touching here. This is why. You know, I'm going to be pushing here and there, and just explaining why, so people are comfortable. And if they're, you know, if they're not comfortable, Tann can come into the room, and you know, you've done that plenty of times as a, you know, just as a female presence in the room too for females. Plus we have Dr. Tracy, who is a female doctor, so I'm going to work with her neck. Next.
When you say gas in the joints, isn't that what you cause the pain or discomfort?
I'll move around so you guys can see the gas. Sometimes the feeling of relief can happen. The feeling of relief can happen with that release, but it's not necessarily what we're after. And so I'm feeling for that motion in the neck, just like when I was pushing on her mid back and low back. And so this one tends to make people a little squeamish, even though it's just gas. But it's really loud because it's next to the ears. And so I'm going to adjust her left side first. You know, let you guys see both sides. And so bring your joints to tension just like that. And then we go just a little quick, just like that. It's not like the, you see, you know, action movies, Terminator, people like that. It's really not that possible to do. There's so many safety mechanisms in our neck and muscles and tendons and ligaments that it's very difficult to do something like that. So
Unless you check Norris.
Yeah. Chuck Norris can do anything.
that was a little louder. And she'll tell you that feels pretty good, doesn't it? And I have one more that I'm going to do with her. I'll get her face on because really it's the primary reason why she came in here today is to get that one spot in her low back.
Well,
So.
this was, I saw 3 different chiropractors, all 3 up there, 3 massage therapists, and I came back in my right lower back fixed. Dr. Travis joined our business, and he had 2 different things that he tried differently. And a week after he did this adjustment, I think it was, I have barely had any back problems. So it's crazy that you can go to 3 different ones and somebody just has a different touch that
And
can
that's,
actually
and that's the key. You know, we've got 4 doctors now over there that do different things. And so there's going to be people that I can't help with the way I do things. There's Dr. Bob or Dr. Chris or Dr. Tracy who do things differently. And so, you know, I always, when I was practicing by myself too, told, you know, if I wasn't able to help someone, don't give up on chiropractic, just try somebody else because there's so many different ways to go about the same problem. And, you know, we can't know them all. You know, each chiropractor can't know them all. So collaboration is important. And so that move she was talking about was this. I'm gonna pull on her pelvis, I'm gonna breathe in and let it go. And this is kind of a rib move too, our ribs tend to move out of place. And so there's little high-pitched sounds pops you'll get to ribs. Breathe in and out. There's a little one right there. It wasn't very loud. Typically you can just feel it with your hand. So, trying to think here of anything else. Yeah, we'll do one in the future with different parts of the body, wrists and ankles and all that stuff, but we'll wait another 6 months for that. Does anybody have any questions?
Travis, when in TN, when their neck, the noise and all that, now, if she were to get back down and you did that again, would there be that same noise or not, or is that taken care of?
It's similar, you see a lot of people who self-adjust or who are always like, this or cracking their knuckles and that. It's not ideal. It's not a controlled adjustment. They're just trying to get that sound. That's why I try to tell people not to be that hung up on that sound. Just because you don't get it doesn't mean that you didn't adjust it, it didn't move. So, and anyone who does that, the self-adjusting, I always try to encourage them not to, at least make an effort. Kids are really bad. Like teenagers, they're the worst. They're always trying to move stuff. So,
so that little bit of noise that we hear in there,
you could hear it multiple times per day.
Yeah, okay.
So if I adjusted her maybe lunchtime, you might hear it again. And then it just does build up. Yep. Any other questions?
Does releasing that gas help mitigate pain?
It can, yep. Typically, it's not the primary goal we're trying to accomplish, though. We're trying to shift the joints to the position where those nerves are not irritated, and so you can transmit those messages and tissues can work properly. So, like I said, what I mean by tissues, it could be muscles in the arm, or it could even be lung function. Ear infections, had success with kids with ear infections, helps release the muscles in the ear that help them drain. So, tons of different things that can be accomplished through immune system. So.
Now, is it true, I've been told that after massage, or after adjustment, it's good to go get a massage because it will hold it, particularly if something's been out for a while, it works those muscles back.
Ideally, we had this discussion last week. I prefer when they go have a massage and then come over by me because tight muscles usually don't allow for as easy of an adjustment. So we can shift joints better if the muscles are loose and working properly. So I would fully encourage you to go see Lyubo first, come over, then so it makes it a lot easier.
So what would be best is if we went and saw Lyubo, then came and saw you, and then went back to see him a second time.
That's the thing. It's really important. Collaboration and teamwork is really important. So massage therapy and chiropractic, they go hand in hand. So you guys have any questions? And any other time too. I always like to answer questions. Don't feel like you're bothering me. I hate it. So many people tell me, oh, I don't want to, ask you about this or that. I love answering questions. I love consulting, all that stuff. So always feel free.
I have a question. When we did the one-on-one, we discussed kind of where you can practice and where you cannot. As far as traveling, can you explain where actually you could provide services if somebody needs you? Yeah.
That building over there.
So
malpractice and stuff that it covers me in that building. At some point it may cover me in Alroy, just depends. I'm limited where I can practice because of the contract I had with my previous company in Austin, so I can work in Austin. That's why, Reedburg was a good fit. But different docs can, practice different places. Just because I practice only in that building doesn't mean that we all do. Obviously, Dr. Chris and Dr. Bob, they actually work at seats. They work over in Alroy, so. All right. Well, thank you.
I thought that was excellent. There's a lot of things that you don't realize, what all a chiropractor can do to someone talks to you about it, because usually all you see is when you go in what they did for you. To see what all they can do is eye-opening sometimes. So thank you very much.